It's only appropriate that I start off with the most controversial thing about this genre herself. It's about this normal dude who wants. We have Light Yagami ever since it was released back so wacky and over as all these phrases should sound familiar as well. Most characters, and yes, 1000 Year Blood War might be the greatest season of any anime. Well, I think that the time has finally come. Welcome everyone to another video on the channel. I hope you guys are doing well because I'm super excited. Today, I am making the video that I have been longing to make ever since I started this channel. Today is finally the day that we get to talk about what is the greatest anime I have ever watched so far. Shingeki no Kyojin. And for the uncultured swines out there, also known as Attack on Titan. First of all, let's get this out of the way first because I think that it's necessary to let the audience know. If you're not watching this show, then I don't know what the you're doing. Okay, I'm just joking. But seriously, go watch it before you watch this video. I highly recommend it as avoiding spoilers when discussing this anime is kind of impossible. I mean, it's practically a spoiler just knowing the existence of it, let alone watching an entire video dedicated to it. But yeah, go watch it. Where do I even start this video? Should I start with episode 1? Or maybe the return to the Shiganshina arc? Or maybe just talk about the insane that's happened in the last season? It doesn't matter where I start this video. It's always going to be a good starting point. Attack on Titan is a masterpiece. There, I said it. Sorry for spoiling the video, but I just can't contain myself. I'll say it again. Attack on Titan is a masterpiece. I don't say this lightly. People can come at me with their Demon Slayers, their One Pieces, or their X-Arms, but nothing will ever convince me otherwise. It's the anime that literally changed my perspective of anime forever. Ever since I started my anime journey about 2 years ago, I haven't had any anime that made me think or feel the way Attack on Titan did. It's one of the only anime that I've watched, if not the only one I watched, where I was genuinely concerned about what was going to happen. And after watching the Unreal latest hour-long special last week, this feeling only increased more. Also, the only show where I just couldn't land a prediction right, even with all the foreshadowing that's present all throughout the show. Looking back and seeing all of these things that I can't believe I missed, in hindsight they look so freaking obvious, but when you're watching the show for the first time, they are things that could easily fly under the radar. And it's not the only thing. In this video, I want to go over the things that a good narrative should have, and how Attack on Titan does all these points right. The points being plot and lore, storytelling and development, emotions, and characters. Strap yourselves in, ladies and gentlemen, for the ride of your lives. Here we go. Plot and lore. In my opinion, Attack on Titan is the best anime when it comes to plot. Of course, this is subjective, but I just haven't seen any other anime do what Attack on Titan does to this day. That ability to be constantly changing the identity of the show while also keeping a main identity at the same time is just something that screws with my head. This sounds like it doesn't make sense, and you're right, it shouldn't make sense. But in the context of Attack on Titan, it just does. I mean, just look at the identities Attack on Titan has taken throughout its runtime. At the start of the show, we are thrown into an apocalyptic time where the last of humanity is struggling to survive behind the walls that protect them from these ruthless, beast-like creatures known as Titans. All of these people inside the walls want to be able to roam around outside these walls as free as they like. They want to know what's out there. They want to experience all of these legends they hear about, like the ocean, deserts, whatever it may be. Then later on, about midway through, it's about learning the reason why these titans exist and why they are so eager to exterminate all of mankind when they haven't done anything wrong. They just want to be free. And then we finally get to the final season, only to discover the entire thing was a war between two nations. One of them being Marley, scared out of their minds by what could come out of the enemies if they're not careful, and the other being Eldia, simply fighting back against a nation fearful and anxious to not let history repeat itself, so that they can live amongst the rest of the world freely and not have to worry about massive human-like entities trying to eradicate them. There's just so much going on in this show, so many plot changes and twists in the lore that there was almost never a time in the show where I knew 100% what the was gonna happen next. And even with all these changes and twists, the show never drifts from its main identity. A common theme in all of these identities that I went over before that was always present in the show. One word: free. No matter where the story is or how different it is in comparison to the beginning, the least common denominator at all times was the theme of achieving freedom, a theme that has been present since episode 1 without ever changing. And from here, we're going to jump into storytelling and development. And again, from my experience, Attack on Titan completely outshines anything I've watched so far. This show goes so deep into its lore that it manages to pull stories from other stories that I hadn't even known existed yet. Every episode that passes by goes deeper and deeper, and the story gets bigger and bigger as you progress. Every little detail in the show is so crucial to the point where even missing the smallest detail can cause confusion later on in the show. And sticking to that line of thought, the show manages to connect everything so perfectly. Any question about the show you might have has an answer. Any doubts you might have can be resolved somewhere in the show. Nothing is left behind. Nothing is overlooked. There's an explanation for everything, and my god, the development of the show. It developed like fine wine, let me tell you. The show starts off young with a pretty simple premise, grows into adolescence, going into some pretty deep lore, and then for the final season becomes a full-on adult, taking on a massive 2,000-year war, letting the entire audience know in the process that this ain't no baby shit anymore. They be asking for identification and birth certificates before they let you experience what they got. But my god, if you got all your papers ready, you're in for a ride. Like I mentioned before, Attack on Titan from the beginning just gets deeper and deeper as you progress. It develops by making unexpected turns around every corner, luring you into a false sense of security before BAM! Turning the story on you completely. And if we're going to talk about development here, I think it's only fair that we talk about character development, which is how we get into the next section. Characters. Attack on Titan's characters are something else, man. They are just on a completely different level from everything I've seen so far. Some of the most interesting, most profound characters that I have ever seen in any kind of media. I mean, you take a look at AOT's roster and you just start naming them one by one. Armin, Mikasa, Erwin, Jean, Sasha, Levi, Reiner, Annie, Kenny, Grisha, Zeke, Falco. The list goes on and on. And of course, the most important one of all. The one that I can safely say is my favorite character in all of anime. Gabi Braun! The best character that has ever existed in the history of ever. Just look at her willpower to help the people in need and bring people closer together all around the world. Not only that, this girl is a fucking phase member! The 360 corkscrew somersault 10.0 KD no-scope legend just doesn't miss! Okay, sorry if I keep this up. Not even toothpaste mixed with bleach can wash the shit that's coming out of my mouth right now. Let's try that again. And of course, the most important one of all, the one that I can safely say is my favorite character in all of anime. Oh, but Andy, he's the main character. That's way too easy. Why don't you pick someone less mainstream to be your favorite character? Kiss my ass, alright? I don't care if you identify Eren as a protagonist, antagonist, anti-hero, a tree, and I don't care how many times this has been said, but I have never seen a character reach me so much like Eren. The Menace of Eldia is, to me, the most well-written and developed character in any form of media I've ever experienced. The only character that got close was Lelouch from Code Geass. In my life, I never thought I would ever side with someone who wants to destroy the world, but it just makes sense to do so in the context of Eren, because no matter how awful a mass genocide sounds, and no matter how morbid the idea of exterminating the world is, you just can't shake the feeling that it's the only way to actually change the world. Eren has shown that he had no other choice. Does he want to kill everyone in the world indiscriminately? No, of course he doesn't. He feels awful for having to do what he's doing. And that scene where Eren couldn't stop apologizing to that kid made this point a lot more apparent. It was a scene that really hit home for me. And I think this is a good place to transition into the emotions. My god, this anime was playing with my feelings the whole time I was watching. Kinda like when I talk to a toxic bitch. Seriously though, this anime had me feeling all kinds of things all throughout. I've never felt so hypersensitive to each emotion like how this anime made me. It was such a thrilling ride whether I was feeling happy, sad, shocked, angry, whatever you could think of. It had it all. From episode 1's hopelessness to the shock that I felt from the Future Memories episode, it wouldn't let up. And it's something that I genuinely really appreciate. Now that I have expressed my opinion about what I've watched, I want to try and analyze and predict what's in store for the last episode that'll come out in October. And before I even say anything, I want to make this as clear as I can. I want to be able to trust you guys since you all have been so supportive thus far. I ask every manga reader watching this video to please refrain from spoiling the show for me in the comments. I don't know what happens, nor do I want to know what happens. I don't want any hints. I don't want any confirmation of my theories. If you don't have anything to say other than something about how this series ends, then don't say it. I'm giving my absolute trust to you guys, so please don't ruin it. Thank you. All right, with that out of the way, here is where I think this series will go. Okay, let's start with the most obvious one here. I think Eren's gonna die. I'm pretty sure he's gonna die. I already had that psychologically prepared in my head, and it's probably the easiest prediction I'm ever gonna make. And the person that'll kill him, I believe, is going to be Mikasa, though I'm less sure about this one. I just think that it's the most logical pick, since seeing that everyone is always asking her if she could do it, accompanied by the fact that Mikasa telling Eren that she'll see him later, is always the last thing we see in Eren's dream when he was a kid. I also can't see this series ending without one more of the main cast getting killed, and I think it will either be Jean or Connie. I'm not sure which one it will be though. As for the ending of the show, I think Eren is going to succeed in whatever future that I think he saw in a memory. I just think that there must be something that Eren saw that pushed him to do what he did, and I think that the end goal will be obtained, and that would be a changed world where his friends, his companions, and his people, the Eldians, can live peacefully where they aren't judged. A world where the Eldians can go and do whatever they want wherever they want without having a constant fear hovering over them. A world where the Eldians can finally achieve freedom. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for watching this video. I really do. It's without a doubt the video that I am most excited about releasing, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Please feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel with those notifications on, and check out my Mal account in the description of the video if you have any video suggestions. And with that, I'm closing the video. I'm out of here. Peace out, you troublemakers.